Wondering what the F has happened to your body and your life? You're in the right place, my friend. Welcome to Season 3 of Transforming 45, where we dive into the incredible stories of how brilliant humans are navigating the midlife squeeze with courage, passion, and a healthy dose of humor. Don't miss out on any of our heart-led episodes. Hit the subscribe button, leave a 5-star review, and if you're inspired, share an episode you love with a friend. It means more to me than I can express that you're choosing to spend time here and sharing our message of midlife revolution. So let's get into it. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Transforming 45. Been really looking forward to this conversation. So I am thrilled to welcome Heather Allmendinger to the show. She is a certified health coach, athlete, and high achiever. Is the co-founder of DoubleX Strong, a company dedicated to leveraging the superpowers of female athletes and high achievers using the menstrual cycle. Through her multifaceted endeavors as founder of the Vividus, the Full of Life company, and the internationally acclaimed host of the Embracing Flow podcast, she has become a leading voice in period awareness and cyclical living. Recognizing the significance of harnessing menstrual cycles as a powerful tool for enhancing performance within women, Heather is spearheading a revolution. Love it. Love anyone spearheading a revolution in how society views and utilizes menstrual cycles. She explains the often overlooked connection between menstrual cycles and moon phases, illustrating their profound impact on female athletes and high achievers. With a refreshing approach that ditches traditional medical jargon, Heather infuses humor and honesty into her presentations, ensuring they resonate with her audience. Through her work, she sheds light on the symbiotic relationship between internal rhythms and lunar energy cycles, empowering women of all ages to tap into their inherent strengths from pre-puberty to menopause and beyond. Heather, are we going to have a conversation today? I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Lisa. I have been looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah. All right. So you do absolutely fascinating work. And so I am really curious to hear your story. So tell us, Heather, who are you and how did life introduce you to this version?
Well, I hated my period. I'm going to put that right out there. I hated it. I wanted it gone. I wanted a hysterectomy about 3-4 years ago. I had a small health crisis that I could have had the option of potentially having a hysterectomy. And I'm like, I'm done having kids. I don't need my period anymore because I was taught that periods are just for reproduction. There's no other point to having a period. And I was asked during that health crisis, what birth control do you want to be on during this 6-month time frame? And my intuition, my body said, none. Don't do it. Just let me heal. Let me work on what's going on. So I chose not to. And at that point, I received my 3 certifications. One of them was in pregnancy. And a friend of mine was like, hey, what about working with pregnant individuals, but going into the trying to conceive world? So, and then giving them a whole bunch of information. I did that and I realized we don't know enough about our bodies. There were beautiful, beautiful souls wanting to become a mother, have been trying for 5 to 10 years, not understanding that an ovulation predictor kit or a luteinizing hormone test is only predicting ovulation is going to occur. Not understanding that isn't saying that you ovulated. Not understanding that it takes 4 to 5 days for that egg that's been ovulated to get into the uterus and implant itself, and another 6-7 days for enough HCG to be high enough for a pregnancy test to be detectable. So I'm seeing beautiful women taking a pregnancy test at 8 days post-ovulation and getting a negative and going, I'm out. That's it for this month. And watching them go through this roller coaster for months in and months out, not understanding their body. I'm like, this has to change. And in the midst, I was working on my body. I was having horrible, painful, heavy cycles. I'm like, I don't want to deal with this. I was looking forward to that hysterectomy at the end of the 6 months. But about 3 months into the journey, I found cyclical living. I started putting that stuff into play, and I'm like, what do I got to lose? And I had my first pain-free cycle. I had my first cycle I wasn't bleeding through products every hour. I wasn't in pain with water bottles and loads of pain medication. And I'm like, if I can do, and I found out that periods aren't to be pain-free. And the more I dove into it, the more I realized we really don't know about our cycles. Athletes don't know about their cycles. Women going through perimenopause and menopause have no idea what's going on in their cycles. So I was like, all right, this is my space. And I embraced it and I love it. And people are like, Heather, every time we talk about periods, you just light up. And I'm like, I'm in my space.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really important work, especially at this juncture, this historical period that we are living in, where women's bodies are under attack in a way I never imagined I would observe in my lifetime.
Mhm.
You know? I think I probably told the story before, but when I was in high school, I did my independent study in English Lit on Margaret Atwood. And so dove into a lot of her works and obviously The Handmaid's Tale. And I remember so clearly, like I can picture the room I was in as I was having this thought. That's how much it's like implanted in my brain for obvious reasons that have played out later in life. But thinking, I'm so glad I lived in a time where this would never even be possible. Right. And shocker of all shockers, what a plot twist that we absolutely are living that reality currently. And so the work you are doing is essential. The work that we are doing is essential in really helping women understand their own bodies. And so I'd love to break it down a little bit and just have you go through the phases of the menstrual cycle, first of all, so everyone is super clear and really knows and understands those and how they impact your daily life.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, everybody knows when we're menstruating. Well, we know when we're menstruating. That is the most outward sign of the phase that we are in. We bleed. And a healthy menstruation is 3 to 7 days on average. And you use with medium to 1 or 2 medium to heavy days. And when I say medium, we're looking at 3 to 4 product changes that day. So it be it, or no more than 3/4 of a cup in a menstrual cup. So if you use menstrual cups, that's a medium day up to 3/4 full, 3 to 4 product changes. A heavy day is a full menstrual cup or a product change every hour, or at least once every hour over 5 product changes or a product change overnight. So just to give you an idea on what is medium in my definition, heavy in my definition, but 3 to 7 days on average is a cycle. You're going to see clots. You're going to see small clots, dime size or smaller. Is considered a healthy menstruation. What's going on during menstruation is your progesterone and your estrogen are dropping down to basic levels. But your follicular stimulating hormone has started to ramp up. And what the follicular stimulating hormone does is it tells your ovaries to take a couple ovum or eggs and start letting them grow. As they grow, estrogen starts to rise. And that's where we're getting, and that's why the first half of the cycle is called the follicular cycle, because it's all about the follicles growing. Those follicles growing tell the brain, hey, we're growing, and estrogen's made. Estrogen rises up through ovulation. And during the follicular phase menstruation, you're low energy. Great time for naps. Great time to just be comfortable. Don't really push yourself. You push yourself, you're going to burn yourself out by the end of the cycle, and it's just going to compound as like a snowball effect. So during menstruation, I kind of call that the winter phase for those that are no longer menstruating, and you feel it, you're like low energy. But then a few days later, your energy starts to rise and you're going into the follicular phase of the cycle. Follicular phase of the cycle is kind of like spring. Things are growing, you're taking off more clothes, you're feeling more comfortable in your body, you have more energy. The eggs are growing, getting into the ovulatory phase. The ovulatory phase is when you ovulate. This is the main event of our cycles, ovulation. We are your favorite superstar on steroids. I say Beyonce on steroids, and I've had people, I don't like Beyonce. Okay, pick your favorite superstar, be it Taylor Swift, be it Beyonce, be it Serena, whoever it is. Pick your favorite all-time musician, star, whatever, on steroids. You are gorgeous. Your skin's glowing. Your clothes are fitting better. You feel thinner. You look thinner. It's just more of a feeling for ovulation. This is the summer phase of the cycles for those that aren't doing an outward bleed. You've got a lot of energy. This is a great time to go out, make big asks if you're a salesperson. Ask for that promotion. Speak on stage. Do podcast interviews. Step outside your comfort zone. Great time to step outside your comfort zone, because the phase right before this was a great time to plan. That's your planning phase. And then and ovulation phase is unfortunately about 3 to 4 days. And everybody wants to stay in this phase because we feel absolutely fantastic. But then it goes into the luteal phase. Ovulation, the follicular phase ends at ovulation, and then the luteal phase begins. And it's called the luteal phase because once ovulation occurs, that egg leaves that ovary, and it leaves a little space. And that space, our bodies grow a new organ every single month called the corpus luteum. And that produces the progesterone. Progesterone is the main hormone for the remainder of the cycle. Estrogen goes down a little bit. The luteinizing hormone that caused that ovulation to occur drops down to basic levels. Estrogen stays a little bit high, but progesterone is the main. Corpus luteum, the luteal phase, it's 9 to 18 days with an average of being 12 days. This is a steady time in your cycle if it does not change. So if you say your period's light, it's because the first half of your cycle, that follicular stage, was longer than typical for yourself. And this is all pertaining to you yourself. So in the luteal phase, this is the fall season. And this is where we're starting to crave more carbohydrates, sugars. We don't have as much energy as we did during ovulation and follicular. Great time to kind of start tying up those activities that we did in the beginning half. Start asking some what questions. What went well this month? What didn't go well this month? What do we want to keep for next month? What do we want to get rid of for next month? Because you're going to be going into your winter phase. This is a great time to think about foods to incorporate. Think about fall, Thanksgiving, sweet potatoes, turkey, Brussels sprouts. Look at the fall vegetables that are being grown in your area. Those are great for your body, to support your body, because you're going to be going into your winter phase or your menstruation phase here in just a few days. There is a little bit, about 7 days, 5 to 7 days before menstruation begins, you may have a big burst of energy. Take use of that energy, do as much as you can without really pushing yourself, and then let yourself go into menstruation and give yourself permission to take a day or two of downtime. Do what you absolutely need to do, but then give yourself time to rest, because your body needs that in order for you to shoot off like a rocket, then going back in once your menstruation's done.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. And I think it's really important for people to know and understand, like we said earlier in the podcast, right? That we really need to understand what's happening with our bodies, because the information, certainly I will speak from my own experience, that I received about menstruation was minuscule. Like, it's a fraction of what you just so beautifully laid out for everyone. And to really be able to stand in our sovereignty and advocate for what we need, we must know and understand what's happening in our bodies. Also, I've told this story a couple of times, but when I was in my last year of high school in my OAC gym class, I still remember our teacher telling us we only bleed 1 to 2 tablespoons over the entire cycle. And all of us sitting in that room said that is not possible. There is no possible way that is reality. And the teacher, who was a woman herself, was like, well, it's what it says in the textbook, so that must be what it is. So, can you tell us about some of the reasons why there are so many misconceptions about what actually happens in a woman's body?
There's many different theories, but as you were eloquently taught, yes, we do not lose a lot of blood. And you may be wondering, well, what is all that other stuff that's filling up these products during this 5 to 7 days? There's cervical mucus. There's other fluids that are part of the blood with the endometrial lining. During that luteal phase, crypts, like little tiny crevices, are made in our uterine lining to give nutrients to that egg that was potentially fertilized. That's where pregnancy kind of plays a role. But if we don't have that fertilized egg trying to implant into our uterine lining, there's no point in having that. So it's shed. So it's like a big cushion, and you're getting rid of all of the fluid. You're getting rid of the plasma, but not just, it's not all blood. So there's that. I think a lot of it, some of it might be that when we know our bodies, we have so much power.
Yes.
We have so much power. We are the creators. Humanity would not survive without us. We are the creators. Our bodies are designed to create, and that's a lot of power. And people thrive on power. And so they throw out things to diminish our power so we don't stand in it. And I'm here to let you know, you have power. You have the decision for your body. It's understanding the power in your body. And XX Strong is unleash your superpower. It is unleashing that and being able to say, you know what? I don't want to be on medication to suppress my hormones. I don't like the idea that I could die from being on medical suppression. I don't like the side effects of being on medical suppression. You have that power. And I've been asked, are you against medical suppression or hormonal birth control? No, I'm not. I want you to be informed on what that medication is doing. Do the pros and cons. I was on 3 different types of hormonal birth control over the course of my lifetime. Now that I know my body and I understand what the hormones are doing and why I need it, why I need those natural hormones, I choose not to be on hormonal birth control. I choose to use a fertility awareness method that is 93 to 98% effective at preventing pregnancy, even though I'm in perimenopause. And yes, you can track in perimenopause. I've heard that one before too. But yes, it's suppressing that power that we have, because we do have a lot of power once we understand. The medical and pharmaceutical industries are making a lot of money off of our ignorance.
Yes.
And they may lose money when we gain knowledge of our own bodies.
Yeah.
So they will lose money when we gain knowledge of our own bodies. And that's another factor is, oh, no. We don't want them to understand that, because they're not going to want this medication. They're not going to want that medication or this procedure or that procedure. And it's a business. Unfortunately, medicine and pharmaceutical have become huge businesses.
Yes.
Because of our ignorance.
Absolutely. And I think that it's important for people to remember that, and I will say in Canada, it is a little bit different in that we have a much more socialized healthcare system. That's not to say it's perfect here. It's not. There still are lots of issues. And the power aspect is critical for people to hear and to know and to understand, because in so many cases, how our bodies work have been weaponized against us. Mm-hmm. And that's what is heartbreaking to me, right? That is the soul crushing part, when you realize that my lack of knowledge has been completely weaponized against me. And it's important to feel the grief of that and to let it, like, to have that experience and to really let that, like, where do I feel that in my body? And then how do I move through that? And then get to the other side of reclaiming my power and getting to know everything about how my body works. And I think it's also really important what you said around, because I say the same thing. It's not my job to tell you what is right or wrong for you. It is my job to make sure you are as informed and as possible, and then make the decision that is right for you, which is very, very different. That's the empowerment stance, right? So it's so important that you were saying that, and it really aligns with my practice as well.
Yeah, we just some examples on how we're weaponized. As fourth, fifth grade, we have that growth and development course. I'm told you can get pregnant. I was told you can get pregnant anytime during your cycle. I understand now that I'm in this space and I'm understanding the body, I can understand why they're saying that, because every cycle is different, even though we have a 28-day cycle. Average is a 28-day cycle. And if you do have a 28-day cycle, ovulation can occur as early as day 10 or as late as day 20. And it's up to you to understand that. The other thing that we're not taught, though, is once we ovulate, that's why I said ovulation is the main event. That is the pinnacle of our cycle. Once that egg is ovulated, it is a diva, ladies. It is an absolute diva. She shows up when she wants, and she will only accept fertilization for 12 to 24 hours. That is it. After that 24-hour time frame, she shuts those doors and says, sorry, you got to wait for another 28 days, 30 days until my sister shows up.
Yeah.
And when I explain that to different individuals, my clients and people I talk to, they look at me like, what? It's only 12 to 24 hours? And I'm like, yes, that is it. Science has shown that pregnancy at ovulation is only 60% when everything's timed correctly. Only 60% of fertilized eggs end up being a pregnancy and a viable pregnancy. The day before ovulation, the day after ovulation is only 50%. And the thing is, even pregnancy, 50% of pregnancies actually are determined to be non-viable. So some women don't even know that they're pregnant when their period arrives. They don't even realize that they were pregnant. So understanding that and understanding your body, your cycle, is that power. And like once people who I talk to, they're like, wow, so I really don't always need this option or that option. No, you know your cycle, and get that 24 hours after you ovulate, you are infertile for the rest of your cycle. There is a loop in our brain between the brain and the ovaries that another egg will not be released. It is extremely, extremely, extremely rare that loop happens. Like it'd be back to back. It would be within an hour or so of each other. And it's very, very rare. That's how you have those, sometimes the fraternal twins and stuff like that. It's very rare, naturally. With the IVF and everything else, that's a little bit of a different story. But just understanding the miracle of each of us. Because we really, truly are miracles. And that egg and that sperm decided, hey, you know what? These are this is how this body is going to be developed. We're miracles, and we are beautiful. Our bodies were designed beautifully.
Absolutely. It is genius. And I remember being in my biology class and learning about all of the things that can go wrong and thinking the same thing, right? That it is a miracle that anyone makes it to this earth because there are so many pitfalls that can happen in that like in the process and in development. And so I really appreciate that perspective as well, that we are all miracles. And because we are miracles and because we are genius, that's even more reason for us to understand the brilliance of the design of the human body and really coming at that from such an asset stance, because there is so much deficit that comes at knowing and understanding the body. And usually we're only drawn to it once there's a problem, right? And we think like, oh, there's something wrong and I need to fix it. And so that's when we start to educate ourselves. And I just think about how incredible it would be if in grade 4, in the growth and development curriculum, the very first line is, you are genius and you are a miracle. And let's get excited about how your body works. Right?
I teach my teens that. I work with some pre-puberty incoming 6th graders, and I talk to their moms, and I let them know, you are a miracle. You are a beautiful miracle, and explain a little bit on age appropriate wise how they're miracles.
Absolutely.
How we really truly are miracles.
Yeah. And so I do want to get into a little bit, because I think for people who are listening, the conversation around birth control, it's been coming up, either the number of women who have come to me and said, I'm perimenopausal and my medical practitioner said I should go on birth control. So there's like that element of it. And then also women who are listening and thinking about their daughters and hearing in the media, as we do, the things that percolate about birth control and what's happening at this juncture in time. So let's get into the weeds of that a little bit. Like, what exactly is the controversy? Like, let's be clear. And then what is the truth? And then what's some myth that you're hearing happening out there?
I think a lot there. Part of it is we're taught we don't need our period unless we're trying to have babies. There's that part. There's the part that if you have painful cycles, well, let's just stop. Let's just stop your period because, well, it's an annoyance. It's a nuisance. You don't really want it, right? So let's just put you on a medication that will stop it. Unknowing that it can be leading to osteoporosis. First things first, the World Health Organization has deemed the combo pill, which is the estrogen, the synthetic forms of estrogen and progesterone, so progestin and estrogen, is a group 1 carcinogen. So yes, it can help develop breast cancer, cervical cancer, ovarian cancer. It can lead to heart attacks, stroke. I interviewed an author of a book who met with many, many different parents who lost their teenage daughters from using hormonal birth control because they didn't realize that their grandparents or great-grandparents had a health condition that when taking the medication causes pulmonary embolisms. And they lost their daughters, or their daughters went on hormonal birth control without telling the parents. And they had all these complications, these side effects, and was told, oh, it's the flu, or oh, it's this, or oh, it's that. And they lost their daughters. And that some of the parents were so distraught over that decision that they succumbed to their grief. So there's the remaining spouse who's like, I lost my child, I lost my spouse, all because of a little tiny pill. It is a medication that we're not sick, but we're taking a medication when we're not sick. There's a lot of history. I suggest please do your due diligence on Margaret Sanger and the history of birth control. Look at the Nelson pill hearings from the 1970s with Congress and read the packet. You go on hormonal birth control, that is your decision. Read the packet. If you're not given that packet, please ask for it and read it because it outlines everything on what can be done. For moms who are scared of having their child have a teen pregnancy. I understand teens don't listen. I understand teens are not exactly the best trackers. Helping them, empowering them with how their body works, I believe would go a long way. And understanding that, like I said earlier, periods are to be pain-free. You're having pain, you're having heavy cycles, you're having PMS symptoms, you're depressed, you're anxious. Any of those 200 symptoms of PMS, or its nastier sister, PMDD, that is your body screaming that there is a misalignment somewhere. You put things back into alignment, and cyclical living helped me. I was on the border of PMDD. I know cyclical living has helped those that are on PMDD. I know somebody who's had endometriosis for over close to 30 years, and she uses cyclical living to help her symptoms, and she used to be laid out for 2 weeks out of every month, and now it's like 1 or 2 days. Cyclical living can help, just understanding your body, what it needs. Our periods as teenagers, within the first 2 years of puberty, how it's presenting itself can be used as a predictor for future health in their 20s and 30s. So if you're presenting and you're having those heavy, painful periods like I did, I found out I had insulin resistance. I was put on hormonal birth control. I am now pre-diabetic because I didn't address it as a teenager. I had gestational diabetes with my youngest child. And I look back and I'm like, oh, okay, this was presenting itself. And it does. The Academy of Pediatrics, the American Academy of Pediatrics, and the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology actually wrote an article about how periods present themselves in those the first year or two of puberty, once the periods arrive. And it is an indication of future health. That is how vital periods are to our body. It is an outward sign of our inner health. It is a doctor's visit every single month. And when it comes to the perimenopause ages, we can actually walk into menopause gracefully when we understand our bodies.
Yes.
I'm doing it. I'm doing it on a regular basis. If I have a painful period now, I'm like, okay, what happened in the last 28 days or 23 to 25 days in my case? I had a 50-day cycle earlier this summer. I wasn't panicking. I knew why. I knew I didn't ovulate.
Right.
And it's like most women I come across, if they're a day later than they're like, oh my gosh, am I pregnant? And they're rushing out to get pregnancy tests and they're getting a negative. They're like, well, what's going on? It's because you didn't ovulate. And I knew I didn't ovulate. So understanding your body gives you so much power and gives you that peace of mind to understand, oh, okay, I can just keep going on with my daily life because I don't have to worry about this. And you know when your period's going to arrive, when you ovulate. I was on vacation. I had an 18-day cycle. I was prepared because I knew I ovulated early and I knew my luteal phase is 12 days. So I'm like, oh, shoot, I'm not going to be home when I get my period. I'm actually still going to be on vacation. So let's pack for it. And I was prepared. I knew it was going to be there. And it allowed me, instead of panicking, going, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do? I knew what was happening. I knew it was going to happen. I'm like, okay. And it just allows you to be more flexible. It relieves that stress. And that when your stress is lower, your cortisol is lower, your estrogen doesn't spike, your blood sugar is lower. It makes life a lot easier.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is the shift from being at war with our body and trying to conquer our body to living lovingly in our body, right? Mm-hmm. And letting it lead the way. Because so often I say so often, all the time, we are taught to disconnect and to not trust what our body is telling us, right? No, just live up here, live in the brain, and be totally disconnected from the rest of your body. And so I really appreciate your work because it is And I say this about perimenopause all the time, in that it demands that you pay attention to your body. And so if you are able to position it that way for yourself, where, and with the work you're doing and the work that women of our generation, really getting into this, my deepest hope is that young women will walk a different path than we did, right? That
Mhm.
they will be empowered to be in their bodies and let their bodies lead the way. And where we are right now for perimenopausal women in particular, it really is that, like, stop trying to conquer it. Let it lead the way and listen. My statement to women always is, the symptoms of perimenopause are messengers from your body. So
Mhm.
let's really get into what are your experiences and what are those messages telling you about what is happening in your body. And it's really hard to do that if you are completely disconnected from what the symptoms are and if you're constantly just trying to mask them.
Yeah, absolutely. I some may say, "Oh, well, Heather, it's easy for you. You don't have this, you don't have that." And I look at them like, "Okay, let's list out some of the stuff. Oh, what do you do, Heather?" Well, let's see. I've got two businesses that I run. I've got a teenage boy. I've got a preteen boy. I'm in a pageant.
What?
Yes.
Tell me about
I
We have to
am
come back to that. Yeah.
I am with the United States of America pageant system, and I am the current Ms. Redding. I'm going for the state title in November. So
Fascinating.
yeah. And so I have these businesses. I meet with different people. I have my children. I have that work-life balance just like everybody else. And I didn't believe that cyclical living would help me at all, but I tried it. And it taught me to listen to my body. It taught me my body's telling me why I'm having these cravings. Between learning what the hormones are doing and how they can impact my body, as well as the cyclical living and how to support my body and why it changes, why I like one smell one week and it's way too strong the next week, is all part of cyclical living and listening to my body. There are some individuals that do cyclical living that have 4 different deodorants because they don't like the smell of their deodorant after a week, but they like it then 3 weeks later. Understanding the times in your cycle, especially if you still have those kiddos that love to cuddle. My younger son still loves to cuddle. There are days I'm like, don't touch me. Please don't touch me. I love you dearly, but please don't touch me. And there are other days I'm like, I want to snuggle because I know there are not going to be many days left of these. Understanding where in your cycle cuddling is absolutely not necessary, but a great time to snuggle versus a great time to go out to the park with your kids, with your younger kids, or go out and interact and run around in the yard or go and do things that you normally wouldn't do. Have the sleepovers if individuals still have sleepovers. Having all those kids in your house and you're not sleeping. There are different times in your cycles to do this. And when you understand how that, again, intuitively and leaning into your body and what it's telling you, it'll tell you, yeah, this is when I want to snuggle. This is the time I want to listen to this music or watch this kind of movie. Or this is the time I want to read or journal or just do yoga versus going and doing HIIT workouts, those high intensity workouts for 45 minutes. Understanding as we age, 45 minutes to an hour in the gym is too much for our bodies. It causes a lot of havoc. It's not going to get rid of that spare tire around our waist like it did when we were in our 20s. It's actually putting too much cortisol into our system. It's stressing our body out, which then it's holding on to it as it causes chaos. So just understanding we are transitioning. We are in reverse puberty. So I know we doubt that time as our teenage years, like, oh, I don't want to go through puberty again. We're in reverse puberty. And just understanding our body's communicating this and what it needs, it makes it an easier transition.
Yeah. I can speak really directly to the workout portion of that, in that I have been the poster child for pushing through and doing more than I should. And it was just this week, actually, where I just finished one program. I was starting my next one, and I was like, oh, I've always done sort of this 1 week as a palate cleanse, sort of, before I start something new. But it's 45 minutes every day. And I just looked at it and I was like, Lisa, you don't have 45 minutes in you anymore. And that's okay. And if you do this, if you push yourself to do the 45 minutes because you think you should challenge yourself in this way, you will regret it.
Mm-hmm.
And so instead of getting myself to the point where I'm like, oh, why didn't I just listen? You're right. I regret it. I chose something else that is 30 minutes. And it has made a world of difference. I feel better. I don't feel completely spent at the end of a workout, which I do if I do 45 minutes. And then I don't have energy for the rest of my day. So giving ourselves grace is so important to know that that is actually how we give to ourselves, right? Yes, we
Absolutely.
keep moving. Yes, we keep moving, but we do it in a way that honors our body rather than tries to punish it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. I had today, my time was constricted. I had planned a 27-minute workout. I'm like, I don't have 27 minutes today. Oh, here's an arm and ab workout for 5 minutes. Now, I did a whole body workout yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I got 2 minutes into that workout and I'm like, my arm's not holding my weight the way I like it. I'm not in good form. I'm not doing it. So I didn't. And it was a 5-minute workout. I was like, no, 2 minutes in. I was like, nope, I am not in good form. This is no,
Yeah.
I'm not my body. And it was 5 minutes. I could have pushed through those 5 minutes, but I chose not to.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, I did walking exercises for balance and stuff. And you know what? My hips were like, yeah, that was a good exercise. And it was what I needed.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I want to get into talking about how you work with athletes, because I feel like that's going to be like the extreme of how it is for the rest of us, right? Like really looking at that. But one thing I wanted to talk to you first about is that because you also have young boys, and so do I. Well, they're not so young anymore, but uh, the importance of having conversations not only with young girls, but also with young humans in general, right? That everybody needs to know this information.
Mhm.
And an interesting thing that is starting to come up for me is that I am feeling called to talk to men about menopause almost more than I'm being called to talk to women about it.
Mhm.
Because, and part of it is I realize like I'm in the menopause space, so I sort of get like you being in the period space. I don't know if you sort of forget like it's still not every woman in the world who has that information. So I know like that this is still important. The female conversation is important, but so is talking to everyone else. That it is essential that they have that information as well, so that we're not advocating alone, right? Because we cannot do this alone. And we need to feel when we're having all of these physical experiences, the way they impact our physical body, our emotional body, our spiritual body, all of it. We also need to feel cared for, like someone has got us and we don't have to carry the weight of this on our own. So I'm wondering about how you are having those conversations with everyone.
I'm a widow, and I don't usually put that out there, but I am a widow. And I've come across fathers that have lost their wives and they have daughters. And they're like, how do I talk to my daughter about this? That there really is no other predominant female in their life that can take the daughter and say, hey, here's what's going on. So they rely on books, and sometimes the books are good, sometimes they're missing a lot of information. They rely on school because they don't have that information. For me, with my boys, my oldest is going to be 17. And for him, it might, how I explain it to him, and he tells me, Mom, I tune you out when you start talking about this period stuff. I don't want to learn about it. And I told him the one day, I said, here's something to think about. When you understand the menstrual cycle and how it impacts those XX chromosome individuals, it will allow you to be a better friend, a better partner, a better parent, a better coworker, and a better leader. And he
Yes.
looked at me at that last one. He's like, how am I going to be a better leader? I said, well, when you go into the workforce, or if you're an entrepreneur and you have employees, you can see signs of where your employees are at or your coworkers are at. And you can see that employee A has a pattern that about every so many days, very tired, is not, the productivity is not as always there as it is at other times during the month. You have employee B, who is the opposite of employee A. You have a project that you need to get done. You pair these two employees together, you're getting your project done on time, under budget potentially, and even maybe early, because you're pairing these two individuals. As a partner, as a friend, look, your partner calls you up. She's having a horrible, horrible, horrendous day. People are just bombarding her at work, and you've got the kids at home. She calls you up and is like, I don't know if I can handle anything else. And you know that she's going to come home and she's going to have to deal with the kids and their homework. She's going to have to deal with the cooking. She's going to have to deal with some cleaning up. And you as her partner can go, okay, and just kind of calm her down on the phone, go, you know what? Everything will be good. She walks in the door, she gets ready and go, stop. You had a horrendous day. Go take a bath. Go take a shower. Go read. Go journal. Go take a walk. But I need to do it. No, I will take care of the kids and their homework. I will take care of dinner. I will take care of this. You take care of you. Because you need to take care of you. Because I know if you don't take care of you, you're not taking care of any of us.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as that partner getting that message, you're like, oh my gosh, I have the most amazing partner in the world. And your partner's sitting there going, yeah, I'm the boss.
True.
It is a win-win. The
Yes.
look of love that you give each other by having those conversations there's that connection. It's, my partner understands me. And the other half is, I really understand my partner, because you have that communication. And it can go that way with your daughters.
Yes.
Dads, parents understanding their daughters, knowing they come home, you can see it as soon as they walk into the home, or as soon as you walk into the home, that it was a bad day. And there's homework, and there's, stop. Homework can wait. Go do what you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it, honestly, I went through the young lady who is an endo warrior. She is one of my mentors. Her programs have actually saved marriages through cyclical living, believe it or not.
Yep. Well, I
and
was going to,
relationships.
yes, absolutely. That's one of the things I was going to follow up with when you said that, is that is the foundation. Like if you want to stay married and you want to stay in a partnership, then that is one of the foundational things you can do that will carry you through. Because when women come to me and have been disconnected from all of that, from their partners, because that kind of care has not been coming their way, and no blame and shame in that, right? Like most partners have no idea what's happening, which again, going back to, this is why education is so important. They come to me and are like, I don't even know this person anymore. I haven't felt cared for. I don't know how I feel. And communicating about what's happening in your body during perimenopause and menopause is really hard if you haven't had that foundation all the way through. So suddenly you hit perimenopause and you have vaginal dryness and sex hurts, and there's hurt feelings because nobody's talking about the biological realities of what's been happening, right? So absolutely, that would, and I will spit like, I have a partner who has been very caring and loving and done all of those things that you said. It's why I get emotional, because I'm grateful that we care for our relationship in that way. And I also am sad for women who have bared the burden alone, which is so many, who deserve to feel love and care and know that they're not doing this alone. So I'm all in on this is one of the foundational things we do to save relationships.
Absolutely, because as we transition from our reproductive years into our wise women or crone, and I know individuals cringe, oh, I don't like the idea of crone. Crone, and this was taught to me by a menopause guru. She said, crone is a derivative of crown.
Yes.
We are stepping into our wise wisdom phase where we have all of the knowledge from our maiden years, our mother years. We are crones, but this is our crowning glory.
Yes.
It's up to us, though, to share that information with the other generations. But just stepping into that crown, we also do need to communicate, because if we don't, our partners are going to be like, what the heck is going on with her? I don't know where my partner is that I've loved and known for the last 20, 30 years. Where'd she go? I had this witchy, snippy person. Like, who is this? And it's when you sit and you have those open conversations with your partner and you hear this, it's hard not to take it personally.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's also, okay, I'm hearing what you're saying and this is how I'm feeling. And just openly talking about it without that blame on either side, because they don't understand what you're going through. They don't understand that your hormones impact your entire body. Estrogen and progesterone impact your brain, impact your mood, impact your heart, your blood vessels, your blood, your liver, your bones,
Everything.
all of it. Our periods are vital. And as we go through that reverse puberty, those hormones are shifting and they're changing. And having that open communication will allow you to hit those 50, 60 year milestones. I'm in my late 40s. I always dreamed of having a 25-year wedding anniversary. I know that right now I will be happy with having a happy 10-year wedding anniversary at this point.
Right.
I did have a 10-year and we were not in the greatest of places. I never hit 5 with my late husband. So it's my goal. I'd love to have a happy 10-year anniversary with my partner. But to get to those higher miles, just to get each year and to grow closer, it's communication. And when men understand, all of us understand the cycle and how it plays a role in our lives, opens up that door, allows that conversation to happen, and wisdom is passed to the next generation. And our kids see that. Our kids see us communicating with our partners and having those good relationships. They're like, oh, I want that kind of a relationship with my partner. And they see how it's done. And
Absolutely.
then our kids can have those good relationships.
Yeah. Heather, we're going to have to come back. I'm going to need to have you come back because I feel like we just scratched the surface. And I want to have the conversation with you also that's really specific to cycles in perimenopause and menopause. So this has been such a pivotal, foundational episode. And for people who are listening, please share this episode with people who you know need this information. It doesn't just have to be your friends. Share this with your partner. Share it with a coworker. Share it with people who you know need this information, because that's the work right now. It's getting people to know and understand how bodies work and function, and then how we intersect those things with how we live. And that's exactly what you're doing with cyclical living. So we're going to book another episode for you to come back. So we have another conversation. But thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today. This has been an absolutely pivotal conversation and listen. So thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And trust me, it is simple to incorporate this information in your life. It's not hard. If it was hard, I wouldn't have done it. It is super, super simple for teenagers and adults to incorporate into their life.
Yeah. And I will make sure. So all of Heather's contact information will be in the show notes. Make sure you check her out. If you've got questions, make that connection. Because again, I'm going to say it again. We were never meant to do this alone. We do this in community, right? We do this together. So thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, my pleasure, Lisa.
Thank you for being part of the Transforming 45 community. Your support means the world to us. Stay tuned for more juicy episodes, and remember to keep showing up to your life with the love and magic you deserve. Until next time.